What's up, guys? I'm Lowe. We're back in our quick play franchise. We're simulating the playoffs and we're getting through free agency in the offseason and prepping for the draft. Thanks for checking out the video, for liking the video, and for subscribing to the channel. Let's go. Round one of the playoffs in the NFC, we have some upsets with the Packers beating the Rams and the Bears beating the Lions. In the AFC, no huge surprises. Ravens win, Colts win, which I guess is a surprise that they're even there, and the Bengals get past the tough Broncos team. One of the first things I'm doing with the Saints is just getting acquainted with my scouts. I can't fire them at this point, and I guess that makes sense. They've been scouting all year long, so we're just kind of going along with the plan that they have. We have a ton of holes. Our defense is terrible. Our offense is terrible. So I really almost don't even care what they've scouted as long as they've been doing some scouting. Round two of the playoffs, and the underdog continues to be the theme here in the playoffs. The Bengals get past the Buffalo Bills to advance to the AFC Championship game. Perhaps the biggest underdog in all the playoffs, the Colts beat the Ravens to make it to the AFC Championship game. On the NFC side, we have the Bears and Packers both pulling huge upsets and being 6 and 7 seeds going into the NFC Championship game.
He only needs a little bit of breathing room, and he knows what to do with it. And it's the rookie from Texas Tech, Taj Brooks.
So the Super Bowl will be the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Green Bay Packers. And the Cincinnati Bengals win their first Super Bowl. MVP Joe Burrow. He is also the NFL MVP. You can see the other awards listed here. Retirements in 2025. There's some big names in here, some big quarterbacks. The Saints are going to lose 3 big contracts, which will help too. A shout out to head coach 09 legend Josh Johnson. We're going to hire Kevin Stefanski as our offensive coordinator. Of course, he was the Browns coach who was fired. And because I had my first choice of offensive coordinator, to make it a little more realistic, because there were 3 coaching changes, I am not going to allow myself to take the first or second rated defensive coordinator. It's got to be somebody who would be considered like third highest rated. So Lynn Wagner, for instance, is our highest rated. Now there's 2 guys level 13 who would be next. I'm really curious about this Master of Disguise play sheet. This looks really, really neat. I like to run 4-2-5. Of course, we want to stop the run. And so I just feel like Thomas Quinn is going to be a really good fit for us. So here's our staff. And as far as my coach points, I just went all in on scouting. I did create a developer sort of coach who's going to be a good player developer. Because the draft's coming up, because we had the first pick in the draft, I went ahead and just maxed this stuff out. We can get to these other things like play sheets here as we get into the season. As far as re-signing my own free agents, I'm pretty conservative with this, especially for the team who had the worst record in the league. One rating that I'm really big on that maybe others overlook a little bit is the injury rating. If you are below a 90, it's a red flag. If you're hovering around 85, there's just no way I'm putting you on the team. Having said all that, there just wasn't a ton that we were looking to bring back, but we did bring back DeMarco Jackson, and we re-signed our kicker because we're going to need one, and he was willing to sign a contract with no bonus. Taking a look at some of the top available free agents here as we head into the offseason a little deeper. And you got to keep in mind, we're a bad team. We have a lot of money. That does not mean you need to spend it all. The NFL allows you to carry over salary cap. We're seeing this with teams like Detroit who are looking to sign extensions. So don't feel you need to force that. That's not money that's just going to go unused. It does roll over, at least part of it, and it can help you in future seasons. And you can always see that amount there at the very top, kind of in the middle where it says rollover from 25. Of course, that will have a rollover from 26 next year and so on. These are the 5 targets that we have in active negotiations. You can see they're all players that want to be here, and that's an important thing as we look to rebuild this team, because we're not just going to suddenly turn into a Super Bowl contender, most likely in 1 year. And so this helps us save some money. We don't need to try and force and overpay. We're not one free agent away. And these are players that are either young and or just really fit nicely into our plans, such as Najee Harris, because I like to run a lot of power spread, and I think he could be a really nice complement back with Kamara, who is in the last year of his contract, so he's going to be a nice fit. And then really after that, it was kind of looking at just some different spots of guys that were interested in being here. So Kenneth Murray, Dax Hill, I think he'd be a really nice player for us. Miles Murphy, even though we have some nice ends, we have a Chase Young who's approaching late 20s and is a 77. He's not great. So Miles Murphy is going to be a really nice rotation piece. And then Ty Hamilton, kind of a defensive tackle project, because right now we're pretty weak at DT, but I think if I had to pick right now in the draft, it probably would be a defensive tackle, #1 overall. All right, we've jumped ahead through the first evaluation period, and Najee Harris is still waiting to decide here, but we did sign 3 players. Very excited about all 3. So Kenneth Murray, Myles Murphy, and Ty Hamilton. I did give Dax Hill an offer that I thought was really our best offer. I thought it was fair. He really wanted to be here. It did come down to us and the Rams, and he did choose the Rams. We've added a couple more names to go along with Najee Harris. We have Jalen Watson, who will be some good defensive back depth, and DJ Reader, who is a good player, fits a need, and he's interested in being in New Orleans, but he has an 82 injury rating, and if you've played Madden long enough, you know, like 85 or less, like you're almost useless. And so this is kind of where I'm going against spending money. Earlier I talked about that, like, you don't really need to. It's a gamble I'm willing to take. I'm not offering him $20 million a year like he wants, or almost 21. I've actually offered him $20 million over 2 years. And so if we get a year out of him, great. I could cut him. That cost us about $15 million, so it's still a discount. If he ends up playing 2 years, great. I got him at $10 million a year. And that to me is worth taking a risk with just a little bit of our salary cap space over just 1 year. I have offered a contract to a kicker and a punter. During that evaluation period, we do get Jalen Watson to sign. And no changes in the final eval period. So before we jump to the next full week of free agency, here are the top signings throughout the NFL. Just looking at a few of the kind of the top 5 or so. The final mock draft has been released, and it's looking somewhat accurate. It has us picking a defensive tackle. I probably like Eric Castillo a little more at this point. We do have a new contender here in the mix, Jackson Preston. The quarterbacks, again, hey, I'm a big believer. Like, if you're picking early in the draft and you need a quarterback, that's the time to go get it. There's a lot of data that supports that. Problem is, the top 2 quarterbacks in the draft are not grading out very well. Happy to see that the Saints have signed Najee Harris. A suggestion that I have for free agency is to not have that feeling of like idle hands, like you need to do something, like you need to go through the top available and find some other things to spend your money on. You have time. There's still free agency even after the draft. Stick to your plan. Don't overreach. DJ Reader decides to sign with the Panthers, but we do add a couple more. Joey Sly took that really, really low ball offer, and I did kind of a similar thing with Noah Fant. Just kind of threw him an offer and he took it. And just a couple more guys added. Riley Dixon, the punter, and then similar to the tight end Fant we signed, we just threw an offer at Patrick Ricard, fullback. It's time for the private workouts, and this is pretty easy. We're just looking at the 3 guys that are considered top 5s that we don't have full talent scouting on. Well, this is about as sporadic of a first round as I've seen as far as the top 5, and I'm really glad that we scouted these guys because Castillo looks like a nice player, but talent score comes in as round 1. Davidson comes in as a top 5, which we'll get to in a second. Nick Francisco, a nice player here, might fall to us in the 2nd round. We'll have to see. But it's looking like Josh Davidson is really the only choice to make here. He's a 309-pound nose tackle out of Georgia. He's going to be the first overall pick. I should note that although the CPU will trade draft picks like throughout the season, I still haven't seen them do it during the draft. Maybe they do this year, I don't know. But I'm holding off. That's why I'm sticking with the first overall pick. I've also never actually picked first overall as far as I can remember in Madden, so it'll be kind of fun to go through that experience. If we look here at kind of the additional talent that we have fully scouted, there's not a whole lot. 2nd round, I mentioned Francisco. Maybe we grab a linebacker. I'm very much BPA, best player available, so we'll see. I don't really think I'd even waste a pick on these quarterbacks, even if they were to fall into the 3rd round. All right, we are jumping into the NFL draft next. Be sure to check that video out. We're trying to get these Saints ready for the 2026 season. I'll see you then.